Welcome to the after party. I guess we should clarify that this is not a debate between Dean Meadows and Nathaniel. This is just a conversation about the debate that just transpired. So, Dean, how you doing tonight?
Man, I'm doing great. I couldn't be happier to once again be on your show, and it is just a privilege to have Nathaniel Divine Disbelief on. As many people may or may not know, I have described our relationship and our ability to debate one another like Batman and the Joker. We're just meant to do this to one another.
The Joker's the good guy. I don't understand. Chaos is necessary.
Comic. Only in the new comic is Joker the good guy.
Chaos is necessary. Batman is not.
All right, so you're Joker and Dean is Batman.
I guess.
I don't know. I don't care. I actually prefer Nightwing. Nightwing's the man.
Nightwing is a badass. So, Dean, what did you think of the debate?
I thought the debate, number one, I really appreciate the way that you run your channel, Ethan, just because every debate is cordial, it's friendly, and it's the way that debates should be. So kudos to you for setting that parameter, and kudos to Kenneth and Aaron for really following those guidelines for a friendly debate. Overall, I thought the conversation was really good.
What about you, Nathaniel? For what you were able to see?
It went as I thought it would, honestly.
What's that mean?
Do any of them not go that way?
Okay. All right.
How can you have this foundation?
Some.
How can you have this foundation? Well, I've got all this. But how can you have the foundation? Well, I have all this. But how, though, can you have that foundation?
But I think Aaron's point was that what Kenneth was saying was not a good answer.
But it doesn't matter if it's a good answer or not. Every single time that I've seen those debates, how can you possibly hold that position when my presupposition is that you can't? And I'm like, what? I don't think that's how that works.
How do you address those?
I don't. I'm like, you know what? I tell you what, I'll hold your presupposition when you show your God exists. That's what I do.
But I don't. But the point of the debate was not whether or not Aaron had a presupposition that God existed. The debate was, can secular humanism ground objective moral values and duties? That was the proposition of the evening.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But I think the objective moral values and duties. Again, I appreciate you got the Wayne Lane Craig thing there because he's the one that says that all the time. It's not actually a thing. I have never heard it outside of religious philosophical debates ever.
Actually, same.
Sam Harris believes in objective moral values and duties.
Does Sam Harris not have religious debates? That's what I'm talking
about.
Well,
Sam Harris,
name me a philosopher outside of the religious debate stuff that says those things. There's not one. I mean, it's okay. Black Swan ballot still.
Outside of the religious debates, I mean, I'm not going to say, I can't say Jordan Peterson because that just might send people into a frenzy.
Well, it might send him to therapy. Jordan Peterson burn. It's almost like a Ginsburg, except not quite as cool.
Ouch. That hurts.
Well, I didn't know you were a fan of.
I don't read Jordan Peterson,
JP,
but I know that he's had some struggles here lately.
Yeah, and certainly hope that he and his daughter, I think, hopefully that they are, able to get back on whatever positive path they were on. He seemed like he had it going on, I guess. I don't know that I necessarily agreed with him on everything he said.
I'd agree with
or that. Anything. I don't know.
So, Ethan, what do you think of the debate?
Well, I was actually just going to ask you guys if you can ground morality. Can you, Dean? I mean, so I guess to answer your question.
You said this wasn't a debate, and now we're about to start debating.
Can't wait to show Dean how he's wrong about this.
With regards to the proposition of the debate, specifically the debate tonight, I think number one, out of the gate, Kenneth just admitted that secular humanism has a grounding problem. And he followed that up with every worldview has a grounding problem, but he didn't really elaborate on why every worldview had a grounding problem. Maybe that wasn't a need for him to do that. I don't know that I was clear. I don't know if he made it clear enough what he meant by well-being. It seemed like well-being was used in a very not a really defined way. And then with Aaron, I think that one of the things that Aaron could have done that he should have done was force Kenneth to define what he means by well-being. So Kenneth never really defined well-being, but Aaron never really pressed to have that be defined, which it's not on Kenneth. It's not on Kenneth to, define well-being if Aaron doesn't raise the objection.
That's fair. And I have to go back and watch the whole thing, but it sounded like he mentioned harm. He said well-being instead of harm, because I usually put the word harm there as it is defined.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, thirst. Right, thirst is harm. If you're thirsty, it causes harm.
Okay.
Right, and so we should basically, with secular humanism, and it's not just humanism, but anything that necessarily would be considered alive, to prevent as we can that harm. It's a very, very now that's just one. There's a myriad of examples, but it's like an arc as to how we do that and in what ways should we do that. Thanks, IQ, for that. But minimizing or eliminating harm altogether is how is what I usually don't hear people say, but it's the thing that I like to say. And I think sure. I think that it's certainly is possible, whether under a religious or a non-religious framework, if one can, a person should, and I think that we should agree with that it'd be objectively good to reduce harm overall. And I don't know that anybody would disagree with that. And then it depends. And then I think it goes into how we get to that point, because then if we're trying to reduce harm, does it matter if we're religious or not?
No.
If we're reaching the same conclusion, we get there by different means. You came by train, I came by airplane. We still got there.
It's true.
Yeah, I don't disagree with a lot of what divine disbelief. Do you want me to call you divine disbelief or you by your first name? Which would you prefer?
Or by your other name?
I have. You call me atheist. I have. Which you've heard me tell people to do before, just because they're, I just, no, you can call me, I've doxed myself. You're fine. I'm Nathaniel.
Okay. Gotcha. So I don't disagree with a lot of what Nathaniel just said. I would say that the only thing that would probably be pushed back would be, okay, how do we define harm? And then who gets to decide what is and what isn't harmful, and how is that appropriated? Is that appropriated by vote? Is that appropriated by strength? Is that appropriated by tribe? I mean, that's just how the theist would push back on that. But I say once we kind of categorize all that stuff, I don't think a theist would disagree that we need to do things that don't harm people.
Yeah, or harm others. I don't even just say harm others. Yeah. Secular humanism doesn't just mean people, of course.
Yeah.
And now, mind you, there are various levels. Just like there's various levels, I think of religious ideology and idealism. There's different levels of secular.
There's different types of secular humanists.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Not every secular humanist is a vegan, right?
True.
So, and somebody actually asked if Aaron was a vegan too. I heard.
Yeah, I forgot to ask.
Yeah, Aaron. As far as I know, Aaron is not a vegan. He works with me at the Daily Apologist, so I don't think that he is. It
is hard. I've tried vegetarian, and
I'm going to refrain from comment.
It's
on that subject.
It's more difficult during the pandemic, that's for sure.
Yeah. Why are you going to refrain from commenting, Dean?
Because if I give a comment, I could potentially incriminate myself with regards to veganism or not veganism.
Okay.
I
honestly don't know what that means.
So there are people who might watch this and say, man, he's not a vegan. Some like hardcore veganist is going to watch this video and I'm going to say, man, I really love being a Gentile because I can eat pork, and they're going to come after me. Right.
I think
it was a joke, people. It was a joke. It was a joke. It fell flat. My bad. My bad.
All right. Question for Puck for the panel. has the content of debate, specifically debate, ever moved your needle on any theological issue?
Theological, I don't know. Historical, yes. And I've actually told Dean about this.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Yeah, Dean, you were going to say something. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You were.
Yeah, actually, I told Dean on the phone last year when we debated back in. I think it was. I was really hoping for it to be like April 1st because it was East. You know, it would have been Easter, but what are you gonna do? That was 2 years ago. That it was April 1st, by the way. So yeah. Easter coincided with Atheist Day on the same day. I was like, well, this makes sense. When we debated last year, I held this position. Historically, that Paul didn't actually say that he saw an actual physical being, but rather a spiritual being. And after listening to others and listening to people present that, and from reading it again, I told Dean on the phone that I no longer hold that position. And also the idea that the Jesus story is related to any others. And I said that one in October. So yeah, there you go.
What about you, Dean?
Yeah. So as far as a debate moving me theologically, I think there's a debate here that's going on right now between Mike Licona and Lydia McGrew with regards to the nature of the Gospels, and specifically the Gospels, and what genre they are. And I've always held a view of
historical biography.
Well, I believe they're historical biography, but more specifically harmonization of the Gospels. And so I would say that Licona's arguments for explaining discrepancies in the New Testament has swayed me some. And so I'm interested to see his follow-up to McGrew's book, I think it's The Mirror and the Mask. And if he crushes her in that, I will probably end up changing my view on why there are discrepancies or how to handle discrepancies in the Gospels. So yeah, that's an ongoing one. In the past, I would say I used to believe the
resurrection.
I still believe the resurrection. I used to have a belief that babies were baptized because if they weren't, they would go to hell. I've heard a multitude of debates with regards to that, and now I reject that notion, that Calvinistic idea. So
yeah.
So those are two. There's one ongoing and one past.
It sounds like you guys are ready to debate the resurrection.
Oh yeah, we have never done that before.
No, we've never done that ever.
No, I do wonder, Dean. I do have this question for you, because I would say that so in March of next year we are going to be in
Statesville, North Carolina.
Thank you. A state debating whether the disciples and early apostles were martyred for their faith. Now, let's say that I can convincingly show you that wasn't the case, like that it didn't actually happen. I don't know that would actually have to sway your religious worldview, because it has no bearing on Jesus.
Is that
now you'd have to get rid of one of those minimal facts that you like to use, but
so I would say that if you were to show that none of the apostles were martyred for their belief, I would agree with you that I don't know that it would. I may have to. I don't know that I would have to drop a minimal fact. I would, because even now you could still argue that they were at least willing to die for what they believed, not that they died for what they believed.
Is that possible to substantiate even like today?
That they were willing to do it?
That anybody is willing to die for anything, because this is a thought process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I can say, I'm willing to die for this photo that I took. right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
you don't know if I actually am.
Well, no.
I did take this photo, by the way. Again, I pretty much everything.
Nice.
As I cycle through these.
So you may have some grounds. I have to think about it more. You may have some grounds for at least dropping one minimal fact and potentially replacing it with something else. But I don't know that would impact my belief on whether or not Jesus rose from the dead.
Yeah, and so is holding the position that they did die theological or historical to you?
To me, I think it's I don't know specifically. I don't know what theological doctrine that would fall under. I think that's more of a historical claim than it would be a theological claim. I don't know that because Acts doesn't talk about Paul's death, doesn't talk about Peter's death. We don't have the death of we don't have the death of Andrew in there. So the only way they would impact me theologically is if they did record that these guys died for what they believed, and then somehow you could show that didn't happen. Well, then that might impact the doctrine of inspiration or inerrancy.
Sure. And I don't think you're a biblical inerrantist anyway, like in the sense of that everything is perfect.
I'm a biblical inerrantist. I believe that what is in Scripture is what God intended to be there. Yeah.
So
I would say that
the message is perfect.
Well, I would say the things that are in there are inspired by God as far as inerrancy goes. So that would be I believe that's the Chicago statement of inerrancy, that the Bible is true and perfect in all that it affirms. Or something like that. And that's the thing with inerrancy. I don't necessarily know that I want to go down the complete road of all types of problems or discrepancies or objections to inerrancy. But I think one of the things the Christian camp has to deal with inerrancy is that the problem with talking about inerrancy is that everybody's got a different definition of inerrancy.
Yeah.
And that's
an issue for me. I think that's an issue with Christians too. Or with atheists
that's the issue with me. I mean, either it's God breathed or it's not.
Yeah, and of course, whenever you talk to anybody that says, and I think this actually does something with these ideas of morality and things like that too, because my hands are all fuzzy when they move because it's so bright and the background's so dark. I'm far enough from the stupid green screen. Whatever. The reason is
let me ask you a question, Nathaniel. I know we're off the topic of the debate, and I guess that's okay, right, Ethan?
Yeah.
Do what?
Sorry, say that again.
Clicking it back around with it, but yeah.
I didn't hear you cut out.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was circling it back around and saying that I think in the same way that we don't necessarily hold some of the same definitions of objective and universal morality type things, and that how we actually achieve that. The word inerrancy doesn't mean the same thing to everybody, because Lacona, as far as I am aware, and you can correct me, right, is a biblical inerrantist, right? He says it's inerrant, but the message is perfect, even if there are some things that we can't currently explain historically, like census. I
knew you were going to bring that up tonight. I knew you were. I knew you were. As far as I know, and I'm just going to go ahead and guess for Mike Lacona. I don't know specifically what Dr. Lacona specifically thinks about inerrancy. I would say that he is an inerrantist, regardless of whether or not some things are absolutely positively known historically or not. That's my guess. So, Dr. Lacona, if you ever come across this, talk to Divine Disbelief about inerrancy.
I kind of feel like Divine Disbelief and Dean Meadows should have their own show. Like, you guys could just go back and forth all day, and I could just leave them.
I would drive him crazy. I would drive him crazy. I know I would. I want to ask a question. I want to ask a question, Nathaniel. So, in our debate next year, what would be the impact for you if I could show that at least one apostle died as a martyr? Does that move the needle any which way for you? Or is it just, no, I'm just going to reassess and say, okay, at least one died for their religious belief and whatever.
No, they could all die. It wouldn't make the story true.
Okay, so we're just gonna have a debate about the apostles dying, and it's not going to move either one of us, ladies and gentlemen. Essentially,
well, if you could show me that some of them died, I would say, oh, cool, they died. That's what it's about. It's not about whether or not Jesus rose from the dead. I have already shown twice that never happened.
You have not shown that twice. You have not shown that twice. Not even close.
Well, then you haven't shown that he did. And but but again, that's the reason I asked that question, because I don't think that it rests on anybody's like, if anybody's religion or lack of religion rests on the fact that people may or may not have died for believing something, or been not just died but martyred for it, strung up, staked, put on a cross. The Romans were good at the cross thing. Any of those, that doesn't have any Susan, right? Census Aquarius, we could do it.
I see Susan pushing for it.
But
nice.
But I think that we should also challenge those, right? Because if this is tradition, which it is, it's church tradition, right? That we should challenge those things, even if it has nothing to do, with whether a person's going to believe the religion, I think, or stop believing it, because I don't expect you to stop believing it when I show you it didn't happen. But I would, if you were able to show that they were there, that they were actually martyred, then I would say, yeah, this happened.
Right.
I don't think it has any bearing on the actual.
I think the
story.
I think the issue that is of nuance, and it might even be to the point of straining a gnat and swallowing a camel, or trying to push a camel through the eye of a needle, is that I think what my fellow apologists do when they make that point is that there's a difference between me dying for the belief in the resurrected Jesus and the apostles dying for the belief in the resurrected Jesus, because they were in a first-hand, first-person, first-hand account to know whether or not that claim was true. And I think the reason that my fellow apologists use that is not to say that because they died, therefore the resurrection is true, but that because of their firsthand position, that it simply shows that they were sincere in their belief that they saw Jesus rise from the dead. Whereas a couple of hijackers in a plane flying it into a building because of something Muhammad said is simply something that they believe based upon what's been maybe handed down, or maybe not even historically investigated, I guess would be something that some apologists might say.
Sure.
That's the only point.
Yeah. But again, we're also talking about like somebody like Paul, right? Who was supposedly martyred. He never met Jesus, right? It
depends on what you think about the appearances there in Acts, I think. Or what he says in Galatians there.
Well,
So.
I mean, which part of it? The part where he says he went to the third heaven. I mean, because we could talk about that. 2 Corinthians.
Galatians chapter, I believe it's chapter 1.
It is, yeah.
Chapter 1, where
but I was talking
where he
about
says
second.
that he saw him.
I was talking about
Ethan's over there just like,
wow.
Ethan's over there just like, I can just feel the tension. Like there's a debate about to break out.
No, there's not. I was just, I make snide comments on purpose. Dean doesn't mind, right? I assume.
I don't care. I don't care. I was in the Marines. I've heard worse.
I hope so.
I think you're good.
Yeah.
No, honestly, like I feel like this is a great opportunity for me to sit back and just listen to you guys talk, because I'm learning a lot. But Dean, I want to get you off subject real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
The other day, you asked me a question on how my needle would get moved a certain direction. So
right.
I want to ask you the same question.
You just outed me because I was the one that you posted that question. You didn't tag me. You just outed me. No, I'm just kidding. I don't care.
Yeah, but have you seen I ask like 28 questions a day on Facebook?
That's true. That's also true.
Good.
That's true. Yeah, go ahead. Ask it away.
So what would it take for me to move your needle and get you to essentially give up your belief in Christianity?
Gotcha. So first, I think if there was a adequate refutation of the resurrection, either they found some type of document in history that they could trace to an early disciple that said it was all a hoax and we propagated a conspiracy, or you could have a disciple or early apostle. There's a document that says we took the body and we hid it over here in this, field or whatnot, and then we proclaimed the resurrection. Or a document that said Peter was the only one that had any type of experience, and and you dated that within the first century. That's something that definitely would move the needle for me on a historical grounds significantly. If something like that shows up in history, and if something like that shows up in an early manuscript that's dated to that time, that's linked to an apostle or early disciple of Jesus, I'm done with Christianity all day, every day.
But you'll still, just to be clear, you'll still believe in God. You'll just be done with Christianity.
Yeah, I wouldn't give up the whole enterprise of God existing. I'd be a theist. I don't know where I would go with that as far as theism. I probably would move to deism then from there, unless there was a bad argument unless someone could move me off of deism. If someone could show that, Nathaniel will like this one. If someone could show that some of the philosophical arguments for God's existence were not we're not good, like Kalam, ontological arguments.
If they were good, I'd be a theist.
Yeah, not necessarily.
No, that is true. I would be intellectually dishonest at that point. But
yeah. Yeah. So notice that Nathaniel just called me intellectually dishonest.
No,
right
if I thought they were good arguments, I'd be a theist. If I thought that they were, I would be intellectually dishonest if I were to say these are great arguments, and yet they are arguments that follow, and yet they don't reach the conclusion, or they reach conclusion, but I'm still going to lie about it. I'd be intellectually dishonest, or I'd be cognitive dissonant out the door, right? Be like, okay, I know this is right, but I can't say it is, because then I got to give up atheism. And I just can't. It's my thing. It's my username. It's over here.
Gotcha. So those would be some things that would move me off the needle of Christianity. It certainly wouldn't be anything like the problem of evil.
God, Aaron Rodgers. God.
It wouldn't be anything like that. It'd have to be something either demonstrated historically or shown the arguments for God were bad arguments, or maybe a combination of both. But I appreciate that question, and I would hope that more Christians would be honest about what would move them. I don't like the idea of, well, I'm just going to hold my position because that's the way that I was raised, or I'm going to hold my position just because I had some type of experience that I had at 16 or continue to have now. I think those are,
like,
well, I don't want to discount experience.
Yeah, because Paul
experiences. But Paul is also a rational being too.
He had experiences.
Right. But he
never met the guy.
He also, okay. He did meet him. He totally met him.
I watch what a debate is like between the two.
Dude, I'm telling you, if we were to debate on your channel, I'm not going to, okay, I'm just going to brag right now. We put on a pretty good show.
We do.
Honestly, it seems like that. Making you like, all right, come on, guys.
So,
why are we signing up for debate like now? Because
people debate it. It's upsetting.
So here's the thing. All right, let me just be clear. Let me be clear on this. Nathaniel knows that I'm certainly not. Is my daughter up? No, she's not. Nathaniel understands that I'm certainly not scared to debate him. He understands that.
About that?
Huh?
Are you sure about that?
I'm 100% sure about that. Unless Nathaniel is lobbing grenades or trying to shoot me with a AK-47 in the middle of the desert in Iraq, I'm not going to be scared of debating him. And even then, if he's lobbing grenades and trying to shoot me in the middle of the desert in Iraq, probably still won't be scared. Because Navy guys can't shoot. So I'm kidding.
You've got a whole force that does. So
you do have a whole force that does.
Wait, no, it's you. It's you. You're the force. Welcome to the Department of the Navy, bro.
Yeah, men's department, baby.
Yeah, the one that takes all the bullets. Thank you for that, by the way.
Hey, someone's got to do it. We're free and able.
Somebody has to die.
Somebody has to do it.
It's gonna be you.
But seriously, let me clarify this. So I have no problem. I have no problem telling people why I rejected that debate. I rejected that debate because number one, I haven't looked at the census issue in about 3 years. Number two, I've got a debate on the 2nd, and I've also have another debate or potentially another round table on the 17th. And number three, I'm starting to teach at a seminary soon, and I understand, and I give Nathaniel credit, that if I don't have the adequate time to look at it, research it, and formulate an argument, and just show up willy-nilly, that one, I'm not going to represent well, and two, Nathaniel would cream me at that. So I'm not going to put myself in a position where I'm at that disadvantage at this point in time. Now, should there come a time where there's adequate time to prepare for that, I'd be more than happy to debate Nathaniel on that topic, with one caveat, that he would debate me on whether or not God exists.
Okay, so Nathaniel, why don't you want that debate?
I don't. What Dean said. It's not something that I ever look at. Yeah, no, I'm more of a Dean's theological guy. I am a history guy. Right. So there's a big difference between the two, and people get it conflated all the time. Understanding that a person is a Christian is not understanding what a person believes as a Christian.
Here's what I'll propose on Ethan's show.
Ethan's show challenge. I like this.
I'll propose this. I will debate you on this topic.
Listen, predator after you.
Send him. He ain't the scariest thing I've ever seen.
But yeah, you never saw him. That's why.
Yeah. I'll debate you on that topic.
Yeah.
If you're agreeable, on Ethan's show in September.
I gotta wait till September. What is this?
WrestleMania? September. WrestleMania is in March, April, bro.
Okay, you know what I mean. Like building a debate for that long. Although we could probably get some good viewership if we start promoting it now.
That gives me enough time to look at the discussion, prepare for it, but also fulfill my commitments to the Daily Apologist and Harbinger Theological Seminary.
All right, Nathaniel, he has dropped the challenge.
So I have to debate like whether or not God exists too. Is that?
Oh no, I don't think.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to if you don't want to.
Oh, you want to debate whether or not Luke's sense is historical?
We can talk about the historicity of that, sure.
Okay. I mean, sure. Do it tomorrow. Yeah.
It's time to prepare.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, you want to set that up? Fine.
Does anyone know who asserting dominance is? Because I don't want to let them in the stream if you're not familiar with them.
I don't know who that is.
Babe, do you know? I mean,
couldn't tell you.
I like a good troll, but
yeah, so they're not on video; they're on audio. I don't know.
I mean,
oh boy,
I'm not going to ask anybody to do that.
That's a good way. That's a good way to get your show hijacked.
Yeah, it's your stream, not mine. If they, can like, because they might come on and think like and be blaring some sort of like copyrighted music or something.
Yeah.
people do that.
It could be like a Zoom bomb.
It's a troll.
It'd be a
chat right now.
A StreamYard bomb.
Yeah,
dropping bombs.
I mean, sure, if you want to set that up, Dean, but again, I think it is important to note that this is simply history, right? Just like we're looking at debating. Luke's gospel could be wrong about Jesus's birth, and yet Christianity could still be true, right? And I know that Dean agrees with that. So I didn't say anything he didn't agree with.
Sorry, my daughter woke up. What was that last part? I heard
simply
about
that
history.
Yeah, simply that that Luke's gospel and at least his recounting of the birth narrative could be wrong, and yet Christianity can still be true. So this is part of the God-inspired story, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you would be right in that assessment if one didn't affirm inerrancy. You could say that there's this specific issue is this one piece of Luke's gospel is not historical, but that doesn't discount the historical value or probability that the rest of it is historical. So, Hey, one second, Ethan, I need to go and put my daughter back down if that's okay.
Okay, sure. We'll see you back.
I'm right back.
Oh, I talked to that dominance person.
Nathan, I had a chance to get to know you. So I think I should take that opportunity now. How long have you been an atheist for?
I don't know, like 10 years, I guess.
Ooh, yeah, you've got to be on that.
Pretty close to 10 years, I think. Yeah, I was a Christian, I was evangelical, I was a youth pastor. Wait, didn't I go over this on your show like a week ago?
You're right. I apologize. You're right.
I did like a 30-second thing.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because you went through it like rapid pace. You're like, I was a pastor. And it was like, wait, what? I didn't follow any of that.
Yeah, I had a girl invite me to church. I said yes. I thought we were going to get together. Turns out no. And I was like, oh, look, Assembly of God is super cool. And Jesus and speaking in tongues fall on the floor. Awesome. Went to church camp. Went to Texas in 1998. Mom was like, hey, now you're Baptist. I'm like, oh, I'm super not though. She's like, yeah. And I was like, but back to the Word of God. 2001, I went out to a mission thing out in Arizona. Figured, hey, that's a bad idea. And then decided I didn't like that anymore because desert's bad. And went to the military, was still that. I came back out in 2004, 2005. Was a youth pastor, went down to Miami as a youth pastor, actually north of Miami, Pembroke Pines. And then I went up to school.
I get the point. I don't know how you do that so fast.
Went up to school, right? Figured out in school, I was like, holy shit, this is the only thing that I don't actually take for, like, that I don't actually research very much at all. And I researched it, and a couple of years later, hey, atheist. There you go.
All right.
That's how it goes.
Oh, sorry, Irish Tweet. I didn't know who you were, and I'm not going to take that chance to get my stream jeopardized.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard enough being an atheist and trying to get monetized.
It's true. We've been trying. No, we haven't. We just, I don't know that we're actually trying to get monetized. So
why not?
It's never really been about the money for us, you know?
Well, me neither. But at the same time, like, if you have good content, why not, supplement your income?
Yeah. If it comes to that and we think that it's a positive thing, usually what we do though, and this has at least been the case as I've I got the money from the debate that Dean and I had. It's like donating that stuff to charity and whatnot. So if we ended up doing anything like that, it would be going to Susan's on the stream right now, and she can definitely tell you that whatever I'm saying may not be correct. But certainly would be giving a fair amount of whatever, any kind of money that anybody would give us to charity and stuff, because it is something that we just enjoy doing. Yeah, we spent money doing this, and then if something happens to where we end up, actually being able to do that, sure, but certainly not something we're searching for.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's fun, man. I love doing this. Like, it has truly become a genuine blast because I always get to learn from people, and I don't know, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it.
Oh, I learn so much all the time.
Well, yeah, you're constantly, man. You're just like you're a huge resource. You just constantly like all this information.
What did I miss? What blasphemy did I miss?
Ethan's a Christian now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Great. Welcome to the squad.
No. I appreciate, and like I said to you, Ethan, the other day when you mentioned that, and I sent you that. I don't know that I've necessarily earned that. I appreciate it though, and I still have so much more to learn anyways.
Don't we all?
Yeah, and Susan is right, by the way. We give donations to the Oregon Food Bank, especially in a time like this right now where people don't have access to things they even normally would, regardless of circumstance. Wherever you might be, if it is within your means, please do that. That's a plea from me, not Ethan. He didn't tell me I could do that. But
you're good, man. Go ahead.
It's part of that secular humanism thing.
Right. Yeah, I'm never ever going to stop someone from promoting the good of other people.
That secular humanism thing. So I have a question for you two. Where do you think Aaron was in what you watched? Where do you think Aaron was strongest?
I mean, overall, I thought he was a great conversationalist. He seemed really well versed in philosophy. I don't know, Nathan.
He goes by Nathaniel, bro.
Sorry.
I don't know if he had the better background. I was talking to Susan about that. He had the bicycle behind him in the background on the photo, on the sign. But I think he still had like some Christmas lights up too on the side. Let's see, Kenneth had, I don't know, it's either or really. He was more, I felt as though Aaron was stronger like in his position.
He was strong, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, at directing the exact, well, it's because there's like only like one question to ask, but directing it very specifically at Kenneth, regardless of it, and requiring Kenneth to go like into a certain like corner. Right. And I appreciate it.
So here's what I would suggest oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm sorry, you cut out. I apologize, Nathaniel.
Oh, that's because you cut him off.
Yeah. But like Jesus, I'm for 77. Nice. So
what I would suggest, maybe even because nothing, okay, this is my only criticism of the debate. I think the proposition set up, the way the proposition was stated, as far as can secular humanism ground objective moral values, I think right there that automatically favored Aaron, because there was no need, or it was not part of the debate to poke holes in whatever Christian system that Aaron held. So Aaron could sit back and say, could just poke holes, and the only thing, and all Kenneth was doing was trying to defend that position. So I would say maybe in the future the proposition should be something like, which grounds objective moral values and duties better, secular humanism or Christianity? That way you give Kenneth the opportunity to poke holes in the Christian worldview. So that's the only thing that I would say. I would say that the proposition was already skewed in favor of Aaron.
Yeah, and it was.
And I still think Aaron did a good job, and I think Aaron was right.
Well, of course you think he was right.
Yeah, imagine that. Imagine if the person who shares his ideological worldview thinks he's correct. Oh no.
Well, do you two think that he was wrong?
I don't accept.
Do you share the same worldview?
I'm a secular.
Don't start with the worldview shit.
It's like, what's your worldview? Evolution. So that's not one. No, now mind you, I thought that Kenneth did an amazing. Susan's on Facebook. I thought that Kenneth did an amazing job actually presenting it. Now, mind you, again, I am more of a fan of saying like harm, right, and things of that nature.
Can you give me an example? Like, so how would you have specifically worded it?
Well, exactly exactly the ways that he would, except eliminating the two ending words that a person uses, and to eliminate ambiguity of all types if we possibly can, which I think is vital. So, right. And then if there are like I mentioned, examples of those things, like what actually causes this, and again, it's not. I haven't watched all of it. I'm going to go back and do that. Kenneth's going to come on next time I see him. He's like, oh, really? You didn't see this where I said this? I don't think Kenneth like that, but coming in there
I'm
and
certainly not going to help him out. I'm just kidding.
and actually saying, there are different ways we go about this and different reasons we go about this as well. Some of us do it as I mentioned earlier, through this, what we call the secular humanism. Other folks get it through religious ideologies. Some folks just get it through societal bounds. But there is in my opinion, it's, partially, Kantian type stuff. And I think that if he did present it that way, I think that's the best way it can be presented, in my opinion. Now, mind you, he might hold a different reason. He might have a different reason for holding secular humanism than I do. But if one says limiting harm, limiting death, limiting some sort of pain, then that's in the same vein, I think.
Right.
So,
Dean, I got to admit, so this is a little bit off topic, but you definitely, I think I told you this in private, but you surprised me because at first when I had seen you speak, I'm like, oh, this guy's soft-spoken. He's very calm and polite. It's this may not go in his favor, but as I got to know you, I'm like, wow, he actually, you know your stuff. You articulate it well. And it would seem a lot of people in the atheist community respect you, which is, I'm assuming Nathan does. Nathan, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it would seem.
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, man.
He teed that up all day for Nathaniel, all day. It's not gonna hurt my feelings if he doesn't respect me. I certainly respect
not
Nathaniel, but if he doesn't respect me, that's okay.
I don't respect some positions you take. How's
right.
that?
There you go. I'm okay with that too.
There you go.
No, it's just a matter of, okay, so here's my experience growing up. I grew up and I was hardcore. You think I'm fundamental now. I was even more fundamental growing up than I am now.
That's scary.
That is scary. And so it was just a matter. I would just get online. I used to just get online, even with people who I disagreed with about Christian theology, and just hammer people and just tell them that they're stupid and that they were going to hell. And if they just read their Bible, that they would completely understand what Jesus meant in this pericope in Matthew, as opposed to what they were getting at wherever they were worshiping. And I found a strange thing that doesn't really work in conversation. So through just a lot of hard lessons, both online and also personally, it just has become a part of who I am, that if I'm going to engage with people that don't agree with me, I should probably do it in a as cordial of a way as possible. I'm not perfect at it. But I'll be straight. One, that's just how you treat human beings. But two, in the culture that we live in, there's no way. And I'll just use you as an example, Ethan. I have no problem saying that I want to engage with you because, one, I think you're a good person. Two, you're a cool guy. And three, I want you to come back to Christianity. And you're not going
to come to atheism.
Okay. But that's perfectly fine for you to believe that and want that. But here's the thing. There's no way that you're going to convince me that atheism is true by telling me that I'm just a stupid Christian that doesn't know what he's talking about.
Course.
Right. And you're not going to come to Christianity by me saying you're just a dumb atheist. You're just a stereotypical atheist that probably lives in your mom's basement that eats Cheetos and tries to destroy the world on the keyboard. Right. There's no way that you would come. There's no way that you would hear me say that or watch me type that and be like, you know what? I think I want to dialogue with that guy.
No, you're right. Although I can be a glutton for punishment. I'll take on those conversations. I don't mind the abuse. But
most people do.
Yeah, no, you're right. But me personally, people can say what they want. At the end of the day, it's just going to make them look bad if they act like that. And
so I just try and be as cordial, and I think there is something to what like Eric and What Eric Murphy says on Talk Heathen. He says, I respect you, but I don't have to respect your ideas. Right? I don't have to respect your arguments. So I can respect you, not respect your ideas, and still have that dialogue and say, all right, whatever is either best evidenced or the best argument that can be made, that is, coherent, wins the day. And I've got no problem with that. And you don't need to be a jerk to communicate that.
No, I agree.
Sorry, that's a long
no, it was a good answer. All right.
Answer.
Question for the panel, and we're going to head out in a moment. How do you account for the temporal difference in harm versus benefit and risk versus reward in weighing if harm can be good?
Keep that up there because that's a mouthful.
I was about to say, I don't even know how to break this thing down.
Temporal difference in harm versus benefit and risk versus reward in weighing if harm can be good. I'd like to know specifically, Irish Swede, what you mean by temporal difference in harm versus benefit and risk versus reward. I'm not necessarily sure I know what that means or what they mean by that. So until that's clarified, I don't know that I could give an answer. I mean, is that person asking, how do you account for the temporal difference in harm versus benefit?
I have no idea what they're asking. I'm not going to pretend to.
Good. I mean, I guess would an illustration be something like sending your kid to a doctor to get a shot in the mouth and a tooth removed? What's the temporal difference there is that the benefit of the procedure is that the tooth will be healed, but the harm is in the fact that they're going to get drilled in their mouth and that's going to be painful. In that situation, the right thing to do is, given the health risks involved with what's happening, would be to take your kid to the dentist and get that thing fixed.
All right, here,
that's what they mean.
Clarification, easy example. I get a vaccine today, it hurts, and I have immediate reasons to worry about side effects, but the long-term benefits are obviously worth it.
Yeah, that's similar to the kid going to the doctor. If the risk versus reward there is that if I don't get the vaccine, there's the possibility of me getting the disease and dying.
Yeah.
Whereas the temporary side effects are, unless as maybe stated, the temporary side effects are not going to kill me, but they're going to produce antibodies, or they're going to produce a resistance to that disease that'll keep me alive. So we weigh those. Sorry, I'm taking up all the time.
You're good.
Dean, come on.
I think I need to know what like the risk factor assessment ratio is on that one. Okay. Like, is the risk factor higher than the reward factor of positive or negative? And we can actually usually demonstrate that based upon several factors built into it. And so I'd probably look at it that way. It's kind of like the one person dying so 500 can live type thing. Right? It's kind of like the part of the self-sacrifice type thing. Sure. I know the risk reward isn't always, but even like in investing, right? Like a 1 to 7, right? If something is like within like a 1 to 7 ratio or 1 to 6 ratio, we can actually be able to make some sort of actual discerning decision based upon that. And the higher the reward, right? How if the reward is so high, how high are you going with that risk, especially if the risk causes an inordinate amount of harm, but I do it in secular humanism, reduce all that pain. There you go.
So I guess my question to Irish Swede would be, what is the point of the question and the analogy or the situation? What are you driving at? What are you trying to bring to the surface with that? It would be my question. Okay. Back to them. Or you could just, not get the vaccine,
Right.
I
All right,
bet you
so-
could kill mine. There's a risk reward, right?
There's a risk reward.
There you
Hey,
go.
I don't want to
How
get
do
the
we
vaccine.
discern? How do we discern if one of those is, because that one causes harm not just to one person, but potentially to an incredibly large amount of people,
No, that's true.
right?
That's true.
Or getting the vaccine that causes some sort of side effect, which then makes something become more contagious, above like a 1.0 to a 3.0, right?
Mm-hmm.
It simply is how we are able to assess those. And I think we have historical methods, or we can look at it historically and look at it like just statistically to be able to measure that. The great thing about
The bubonic
morality is that,
plague.
yeah, the great thing about morality is we can almost assess it based on basic statistics.
Right.
You know, no God required, just numbers.
There's a different. Okay, never mind. We'll go ahead. Go ahead. I'll just let you wrap up because we were gonna go off the cliff there.
Oh no, I wouldn't mind seeing the cliff, but we do have a time limit. So Dean, where can everyone check you out?
So the same place they can check Aaron Johnson out, www.thedailyapologist.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest. We're everywhere.
You're on TikTok?
TikTok. I'm systematically going to respond to Godless Engineer on some things and post some other things with regards to this debate and things coming down the pipe for the Daily Apologist. So yeah.
Awesome. And you, Nathaniel.
Yeah, you can find Divine Disbelief on the Twitters at Divine Disbelief. Apparently you can buy us a coffee. I found that out today. Thank you, Susan, for that one. Please do, by the way. Not for me. She's over there. She's on the other side of this cool sign back here. She needs
What
that.
did I do?
You got the coffee thing.
Oh yeah, I did.
Ethan says hello.
Oh.
And Dean shot up the fingers, the two good ones.
Yeah.
And we are on the Twitters there. We're also on the YouTubes. We put out 2 videos in 2 days. Now,
ooh, congratulations.
with that being said, well, one of those was recorded like 2 weeks ago and just didn't upload properly. Yesterday's video has a really high ratio right now. So we got the great Twitter ratio going on that one. Very excited for that with likes versus dislikes. That's Divine Disbelief on the YouTube as well. We're also, I think, are we on Instagram?
Yes.
I think she's listening to something else. We are awesome.
You are on Instagram. I'll tell you are on Instagram.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thanks,
that.
Dean.
She runs that one. We're also on Facebook, which she also runs that one. So
what do you do, Nathaniel?
I take photos.
More like would it be 1/20th of Divine Disbelief?
I don't know if it's even that high, honestly.
He's the face of the organization. She's the
Yes,
backbone.
we're on
See, this is why we're not
Instagram.
monetized yet. This is the
There you
face.
go.
No,
There you go.
say what, Susan?
I'm listening to you.
Oh,
So,
I
yes,
do.
We're on Instagram. Yes, we're on Facebook.
There you go.
There you go. I feel like the sign is talking to me right now.
Yeah, the sign was. Yeah, it's watch out for the bears and the cougars. I do most of the research for the videos that we have where both of us are involved. She does, when we have our deep dives and stuff, she does her research on her side of things. But for most everything, I do the research. She creates the graphics and most of the jokes, which is why they're funny. And I just, if I am 1/20th of Divine Disbelief, that's high. I don't actually know. It's definitely lower than that. But also you can find her on the Twitter by herself. She's Motel Cowboy. And then the corgis are also on there as well at Dose Corgis 15. So that's where we are.
Well,
out there in heathen land, well, not heathen land, but atheist land. Apologies to my pagan friends.
Real quick, I got to thank my first ever 2 patrons, Trina Deluca and Cindy PLAZA. Thank you so much, ladies. I have the Buy Me a Coffee stuff. I don't know the link. It is in the description of the video, and my Patreon is in the link of the description of the video as well. But make sure you check out these 2 intellectual powerhouses, and we're going to start setting up the debate for September. And I want this to be a knockdown, drag-out fight. Like, I want to see you guys go at it.
We can draw blood for sure.
Oh, I believe it. Just watching you 2, absolutely.
I don't know.
I
It'll
don't
be
doubt
interesting.
Nathaniel's rhetorical skill to, put some bruises on my face.
Real quick question from Ricardo. Can you ask if Divine Video is going to reach 1 quintillion views?
Once I figure out how many commas that is an inside joke, and I appreciate it. It comes from our video that's out right now. If you want to see what that person is talking about, go watch the video and you'll see where that's at.
Is it on your channel?
Yeah, it's the most recent video. It actually, crazily enough, just random stuff here. It's about the sense of Luke, the census of Luke. So crazy thing.
The very thing you both will be debating.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that'd be the case?
I get started on that as soon as I get done with my debate with Cynthia.
Awesome.
That'll be fun.
It will. So anyway, guys, thanks for joining into this. Everyone, make sure you like and subscribe. Check out Divine Disbelief. Check out the WLC Parrot. And have a